When you talk to the universe correctly, magic is not an accident. It is an echo of your own inner certainty. The universe responds to the tone of your inner voice, not the noise of your doubts. Every time you speak from faith rather than fear, from imagination rather than limitation, you unlock doors that once looked impossible. The moment you shift your inner conversation, life begins to rearrange itself in your favor. You are not speaking to something outside of you, you are speaking to the creative power within. When you declare, "This is who I am, this is what I choose, this is what already belongs to me," the universe bends to match that identity. Your assumptions harden into fact. Your quiet, persistent belief becomes the blueprint from which your reality forms. Magic happens the instant you stop asking whether it is possible and begin assuming it is already done. The universe listens to your conviction, not your confusion. It listens to the version of yourself you choose to embody. If you speak as someone who is still waiting, you will continue to wait. But if you speak as someone who already received, life will mirror that certainty right back to you. Your inner words are commands. Your imagination is a sacred place where the unseen becomes seen. When you talk to the universe with clarity, when you speak from the end, live from the end, feel from the end, you activate unseen pathways. People start showing up. Opportunities appear. Circumstances shift. The world reshapes itself to fit the story you have accepted as true. The magic is not in the ritual, it is in the feeling. The feeling of already being the one you want to be. The feeling of already having what you desire. That feeling is the language the universe understands. When you speak in that language, in that vibration, creation responds instantly. Your role is simple. Choose the reality you want, inhabit it within, and let the outer world catch up. Talk to the universe like someone who knows they are the creator, not the seeker. Let your inner dialogue become your greatest tool. Let your imagination be your evidence. Let your conviction be your signal. When you talk to the universe correctly, when your intentions are clear, your assumptions are firm, and your inner world is aligned, magic doesn't just happen. It becomes normal. It becomes your new standard. And everything you once chased begins to chase you. When you talk to the universe correctly, you step into a space where your inner voice becomes the architect of your outer world. Most people speak to the universe the way they speak to their fears, hesitant, unsure, apologetic. They whisper their desires the way someone whispers a secret they aren't sure they deserve. But the universe does not respond to uncertainty. It responds to the vibration of knowing. The universe answers the tone beneath your words, the feeling behind your thoughts, the belief beneath your desires. When you speak from the end, when you feel the result as if it is already yours, creation begins. There is a language the universe understands, and it is not the language of begging, hoping, wishing, or waiting. It is the language of assumption. The moment you assume something as true, the universe moves to make it factual. You do not manifest what you want, you manifest what you accept. You create from your inner conversations, the ones you repeat silently every day. And if you change those conversations, you change the direction of your entire life. When you speak to the universe correctly, you give up the habit of describing life as it is and step into the habit of describing life as you choose it to be. You stop looking at circumstances for validation. You start looking within for alignment. The outer world is nothing more than a reflection of your assumptions, a mirror that obeys your inner declarations. You can prove this to yourself in small moments. Think of a person you haven't spoken to in a long time and feel yourself talking to them. Sooner or later, they appear. Feel yourself receiving something and it finds a way to reach you. This is not coincidence. This is creation responding to consciousness. Magic happens when your inner world becomes more real to you than your outer world. The unseen becomes your foundation, not the seen. The inner picture becomes stronger than the physical one. The feeling of the wish fulfilled becomes your home. Once you accept this inner world as the truth, the external world doesn't stand a chance. It must conform. This is the law. The moment you claim something internally, you rewrite the script of your life externally. Talking to the universe is not about asking and hoping. It is about declaring and knowing. Think of the difference between someone who says, "I hope I succeed," and someone who says, "I am already successful." One is trying to convince themselves. The other is speaking from identity. And identity always wins. When your inner talk matches the identity of the person who already has the life you want, everything begins to shift. People treat you differently. Opportunities unfold. Ideas flow. Energy rises. You are no longer the old self trying to change. You are the new self allowing reality to catch up. The universe is not testing you. It is responding to you. It is mirroring back your assumption of yourself. If you assume you are lucky, you experience luck. If you assume you are loved, you attract love. If you assume you are always supported, you find support everywhere. If you assume you are chosen, doors open. And the beautiful thing is this: you do not need evidence before you assume. The assumption itself creates the evidence. The challenge is that most people talk to the universe through their fears instead of their desires. They repeat the same old inner dialogue. Nothing works out for me. Things are hard. I'm not enough. I don't know how. I'm waiting for a sign. But these words create circles, not breakthroughs. They keep you repeating the same scenes because the universe thinks this is the story you want to live, and so it gives you more of it. But when you shift your inner speech deliberately, consistently, boldly, you begin to feel something stirring. You begin to feel a quiet confidence replacing panic, a sense of certainty replacing doubt, a stillness that tells you things are working out even before they appear. And that feeling is everything. That feeling is the conversation. That feeling is the command. That feeling is the seed from which magic grows. To talk to the universe correctly means to engage with it as a creator, not as a beggar. You do not ask if something is possible. You assume it is already done. You do not concern yourself with how it will happen. You claim it as inevitable. The how is never your job. The done is. The moment you decide something is already yours internally, the outer world begins reorganizing itself to match the story you accepted. The universe is always listening, not to your words, but to the state behind your words. You might say, "I am wealthy," but if the feeling beneath that statement is fear or disbelief, the universe hears the fear. But if you say, "I am wealthy," and you feel the peace of that identity, the relief of already having it, the calmness of knowing it's done, then the universe hears the truth. It hears the vibration. It hears the signal. Your inner dialogue must become your greatest priority. You must catch the moments when your mind tries to drag you back into old patterns. You must replace every thought that contradicts your desire. Every time you shift your inner conversation toward the reality you want, you strengthen the signal you are sending. And eventually, the signal becomes so strong that the outer world has no choice but to align. When you talk to the universe correctly, You stop describing your limitations and begin describing your possibilities. You stop telling the story of what went wrong and start telling the story of what is unfolding beautifully. You stop fighting with old beliefs and start embodying new ones. The old dissolves not because you struggle against it, but because it has no power once you stop feeding it energy. The inner world is your workshop. It is where you build the life you want without resistance. It is where you can be anything, have anything, choose anything. And the beautiful thing is that the moment you feel yourself living the life you desire internally, something shifts in your energy. You begin carrying yourself differently. You begin thinking differently. You begin reacting differently. And those shifts create new paths, new opportunities, new connections. Talking to the universe correctly also means trusting in the unseen timing. It means understanding that the moment you declare something with conviction, the process begins, whether you see evidence immediately or not. The flower does not bloom the moment you plant the seed, but the seed is alive, shifting, moving, growing beneath the soil. The same is true for your manifestations. They are alive the moment you claim them, even if you cannot see them yet. You must learn to feel the invisible as real. You must learn to see with the eyes of imagination rather than the eyes of fear. You must learn to claim the end result as your truth, even when the world shows you the opposite. That is talking to the universe correctly. That is how magic happens. There will be moments when your old beliefs try to return, moments when anxiety whispers louder than faith, moments when circumstances seem to contradict your inner vision. But these moments are not signs that you are failing, they are invitations to persist. They are tests of consistency, not possibility. The question is never, is it working? The question is, are you staying in the state of the one who already has it? When you persist in that state, even silently, the universe bends. It has no choice. It must respond to the person you have decided to become. And the moment you decide fully, without entertaining the old identity, breakthroughs begin. Magic is not a miracle reserved for the lucky. Magic is the result of inner alignment. Magic happens when you dare to believe in your inner world more than your outer world. Magic happens when you speak to the universe with confidence rather than confusion. Magic happens when you claim the desire as already yours, not someday, not eventually, not hopefully, but now. Talk to the universe as someone who knows. Feel the outcome as someone who has already lived it. Walk through life as someone who has already seen the result. And as you do, reality will shift in ways that make people around you wonder how you did it. They will call it luck. They will call it coincidence. They will call it magic. But you will know the truth. It was your conversation with the universe. It was your inner dialogue. It was your assumption becoming fact. And when you master this way of speaking, when you master this way of feeling, every desire becomes reachable. Every dream becomes believable. Every goal becomes inevitable. Because the universe cannot resist the voice of someone who speaks from the end, someone who talks from certainty, someone who embodies the truth of their desire. When you talk to the universe correctly, magic doesn't surprise you anymore. It becomes your daily experience. It becomes the natural result of who you have chosen to be. When you talk to the universe correctly, you awaken a force within you that has been waiting for your permission to create. You begin to realize that every moment of your life has been shaped by the tone of your inner dialogue. Every hesitation, every victory, every delay, every breakthrough, everything traces back to the way you spoke to yourself and the assumptions you carried within. And once you understand this, once you recognize how powerful your inner speech truly is, you can never go back to speaking carelessly again. The universe is not separate from you. It is not a distant power you must beg or chase. It is your own consciousness expressing itself through the world around you. When you talk to the universe, you are talking to the creative force that lives within your imagination. You are speaking to the deeper part of yourself that shapes outcomes, rearranges circumstances, and draws experiences into your physical world. This is why the tone, the belief, the feeling behind your words matter more than the words themselves. You are not commanding something outside of you. You are instructing your own creative power. Most people talk to the universe as if they are powerless, as if life is happening to them. They speak from fear, lack, and frustration. They say, I hope things get better, or I don't know if this will work, or maybe someday. But the universe does not respond to indecision. It does not respond to half-hearted desires. It responds to certainty. It responds to identity. It responds to the feeling that something is already true. When your inner voice aligns with the version of yourself who already has the life you want, the universe mirrors that identity with unwavering loyalty. Talking to the universe correctly means speaking from the end, not about the end. It means stepping into the feeling of the wish fulfilled and letting that feeling guide your thoughts, your reactions, and your inner dialogue. It means waking up in the morning and choosing the state of the person you want to be, not the person you used to be. It means carrying the vibration of fulfillment throughout your day, even when your outer world hasn't caught up yet. Especially then, because the moment you hold the inner state regardless of appearance, you prove your faith. And faith is the language the universe understands perfectly. When you speak from faith, something extraordinary happens. You begin to feel a shift inside you that cannot be explained logically. You feel calmer, more grounded, more certain. You start making decisions from a place of knowing instead of hoping. You stop reacting to old triggers because you no longer identify with the version of yourself that felt powerless. You begin stepping into situations with a quiet confidence that surprises even you. And that confidence creates momentum. That momentum attracts opportunities. Those opportunities shape outcomes. This is why talking to the universe correctly is not a ritual, not a technique, not a practice you do occasionally. It is a way of being. It is a lifestyle of conscious inner speech. It is the discipline of choosing your assumptions carefully, because you know they will harden into fact. It is the art of returning again and again to the feeling of the outcome you desire until it becomes more natural than the reality you currently see. Your assumptions are like seeds. Some people plant seeds of doubt and wonder why their life blooms with uncertainty. Some plant seeds of fear and wonder why their reality feels heavy. But when you plant seeds of certainty, when you speak with the authority of someone who knows their desire is already fulfilled, you create a different harvest entirely. You create a life that feels guided, aligned, purposeful, abundant, magical. Magic begins the moment you stop negotiating with your desires, the moment you stop asking whether you deserve them, the moment you stop waiting for the right time, the right circumstances, the right sign. Magic begins when you take the desire as your truth now, not tomorrow, not next week, not when conditions look better, but now. When you talk to the universe correctly, you declare that the desire is already yours, and everything outside of you responds to that declaration. You may not see the change immediately, but you will feel it. And the feeling is the first manifestation. It is the internal confirmation that the process has begun. This internal shift is what most people overlook. They think nothing is happening because they cannot see the physical evidence yet. But the seed is growing even when the soil looks still. Reality is rearranging itself even when nothing appears different. Your inner world has already changed, and the outer world is simply catching up. Talking to the universe correctly also means understanding that your imagination is not fantasy, it is creation. What you imagine with feeling becomes the blueprint for your future. When you see yourself living your desire in vivid detail, when you feel the emotions as if they are happening now, you are speaking to the universe in its own language. You are telling it, "This is my reality." And the universe responds by sending people, circumstances, ideas, and synchronicities that align with that inner picture. People often underestimate the power of imagination because they are taught to rely only on what is physical, measurable, logical. But the physical world is slow, delayed, reactive. The imaginal world is immediate, limitless, and original. Everything physical began as an idea. Everything seen began in the unseen. When you talk to the universe through imagination, you are operating from the source, not the shadow. There is a moment in every person's life where they feel a sudden shift, a moment where they become aware of their inner power. It might happen during a quiet walk, or in a moment of frustration, or after a period of deep reflection. Suddenly, something inside clicks. They realize that their outer world has been echoing their inner world all along. They realize that nothing changes until they change their inner dialogue. They realize that their assumptions have been shaping their reality without their awareness. And when they become aware, they begin speaking differently, thinking differently, feeling differently. And that is the moment magic starts unfolding effortlessly. Talking to the universe correctly does not mean forcing yourself to be positive every second. It means choosing your identity consistently. It means returning to the end state whenever you drift. It means refusing to argue for your limitations, even when old beliefs try to pull you back. It means gently redirecting your thoughts toward the fulfillment of your desire again and again until that becomes your natural state. There will be times when the old version of you tries to emerge. Times when fear whispers louder than faith. Times when circumstances appear unchanged and doubt tries to convince you that nothing is happening. In those moments, your inner speech becomes even more important. The power is not in believing when everything looks perfect. The power is in persisting when nothing has changed yet. Because when you persist in faith despite appearances, you prove to the universe that you are ready for the outcome you desire. The universe is not withholding anything from you. It is waiting for you to speak with the clarity of someone who knows. If you talk like someone who is unsure, the universe mirrors that uncertainty. But if you talk like someone who already possesses their desire, the universe mirrors that certainty. It is not personal, it is law. When you talk to the universe correctly, you begin experiencing life as a series of aligned moments. You notice perfect timing. You see signs that reflect your inner state. You meet the right people unexpectedly. You receive solutions effortlessly. You feel guided without trying. You feel connected to something greater, something intelligent, something responsive. That responsiveness is not coincidence. It is the universe echoing your assumptions. And as this continues, you begin to trust the process more. You begin to trust yourself more. You begin to understand that the universe was never silent. You were just speaking the wrong language. Once you shift your inner dialogue, the universe becomes startlingly clear. You realize that every desire was placed within you because its fulfillment was already possible. You realize that everything you want is already created in the unseen, waiting for you to accept it internally. You realize that your imagination was always a preview of your destiny, not a fantasy. Talking to the universe correctly is an art, a gentle art, a powerful art. It is the art of claiming without forcing, expecting without demanding, receiving without chasing. It is the art of becoming the version of yourself who already has everything you desire. When you embody that identity, your reality rearranges effortlessly. You begin to feel unstoppable, not because you are forcing anything, but because you are aligned. You feel supported, not because you depend on the world, but because you trust your inner world. You feel calm, not because life is perfect, but because you know that every outcome is shaped by your assumptions, and your assumptions are within your control. When you talk to the universe correctly, the fear of lack disappears. The anxiety of uncertainty dissolves. The pressure to figure out every step fades away. You shift from striving to choosing, from chasing to allowing, from doubting to knowing. And that is when the deepest magic happens. That is when manifestations appear so naturally, so smoothly, so perfectly timed, that they feel like life was always meant to unfold this way. And in truth, it was. You simply needed to speak the language of creation. You needed to talk to the universe correctly. When you finally learn to speak to the universe with certainty instead of doubt, with imagination instead of fear, with identity instead of longing, your entire life transforms. You stop chasing what is already yours and start receiving what you've already claimed. The magic you seek was never outside of you. It was waiting inside your own inner conversation. So choose your words with intention. Choose your assumptions with power. Choose your identity with courage. Because the moment you talk to the universe boldly, clearly, and from the end, the universe has no choice but to echo your truth. Your desires are not distant. Your dreams are not impossible. They are simply waiting for you to declare, "It is already done."